All right, Andy Katz here in the Men's Basketball Selection Committee bunker here with Tom Burnett, Commissioner of the Southland Conference and the Chair of the Men's Basketball Selection Committee. We are here now on Thursday. We're getting closer and closer to Selection Sunday. So you had Wednesday to look at the seeding and not bracketing yet, but what were you able to accomplish on Wednesday night?
Well, we really got to work last night, yesterday afternoon. We got to a point where we put our initial ballot in, and we have 27 teams that are in the tournament now because they had an overwhelming support from all the committee members. We also had 31 on our under consideration list. So in addition to the 27, as you know, we already have the now 12 AQs into the tournament as well. And what we'll do today and going forward throughout the weekend is we will begin to pull more teams into the tournament. We also seeded a couple of lines preliminarily last night. We haven't gone through the full scrubbing yet, but the first two seed lines were completed by the committee, and we'll continue to do that, and that will trigger the scrubbing throughout the weekend as well. So expect a few more seed lines today, and then also some more teams into the field.
So 39 total in, that's 27 that you placed in, 12 AQs. But of that 27, how many potentially could be actually become AQs?
Well, quite a few of them. We've got obviously a lot of outstanding tournament results to occur, so there'll be quite a few that could trigger that. And then those will become pickups for the committee later in the week. So that'll give us a little bit more room to work with. So, standard stuff for the committee each year is to kind of wait out the conference tournaments to see how many of these teams gain the AQ.
Of the first two lines, so that's 8 teams, that's 4 and 4. But how much discussion went into the 1 line and the 2 line? And then essentially, how much wiggle room is there depending on what happens the rest of this week?
Well, it's a great question. We did slow down, and we took a step that we've done before, but we did it again last night. We after the first seed line, we really had a great general discussion in the committee room. Why did we do this? Why are you voting this way? What are the reasons you would put this team in front of this one? So it was just a good start for us. And remember, we have got 5 new committee members this year. So we wanted to get them a little more acclimated to what the discussion should be for the rest of the week. So we had a really good first step in that discussion. And then, we're not going to do that on every seed line as we get going here through the week, and then we go through our normal scrubbing. So I guess I would refer to it, it wasn't really scrubbing, but it was just more open discussion around the table to see what people were thinking, why this team, why that team. And I think it was a very beneficial exercise for us.
So how many teams were under consideration for that 1 line?
Well, I think it's somewhat similar to when we did the bracket reveal 3 weeks ago. There's probably a half dozen or so teams that are in contention for the top seed line. But obviously, if you expand that out and you look over 1, 2, or 3 seed lines, more than likely there's probably going to be up to a dozen to 15 programs in contention for that. So I think our numbers are pretty standard as they've been for the past few years. We're able to go back and look at what the committee did before us this year in this exercise. So we feel really good about the numbers and just feel like the committee's right where it should be here on Thursday morning.
And how settled are you on the number 1 overall seed?
Well, that will again we'll go through the scrubbing process, but I think that the committee was pretty clear on a group of schools at that number 1 seed line. But that was part of that preliminary discussion. We did some comparisons with what would be our number 1 overall seed as of last night versus some of the other teams on that seed line.
And lastly, Tom, this term is used a lot this week in Champ Week, elimination game. You said 31 teams are under consideration. If a team loses in a conference tournament and that team was on your under consideration list, where are they after they lose that conference tournament game?
Well, if they were on that list that we submitted last night, they stay on the list throughout the week. They don't come off because of 1 loss. That's just not how the committee does it. We don't use the term elimination game in our vernacular. So, we're going to keep them there and continue to consider that. It's really hard for us to say, okay, this team's now out because we're still working on the full body of work. We've got to get through these other conference tournaments. We've got to see what the other teams do. So it's kind of difficult for us to say, okay, that's it, you're out. It's just not part of the practice. And, I think it wouldn't be beneficial for us to do that because, you don't want to get later in the week and then realize you've eliminated someone that maybe you shouldn't have.
And to be clear, just because Team X loses Team Y in the same conference, there are other teams in other conference tournaments that they would be compared against, not just the team they just lost to in their particular conference tournament.
Yeah, there's so many comparisons across conferences. It's not just the two teams in that conference being compared against one another. We do look at things like that, but there's all these teams we've got to look at, and there's 31 on the under consideration board, not just two teams in a conference.
All right, that's a wrap from Thursday morning here. A lot of hard work and a lot of long hours still to go the rest of today.